YouTube? Welcome back everyone, this is Lee, and yes, today we'll be talking about a Nikon f-mount lens 18-200 VR1 lens versus the Nikon Z-mount lens 50-50 kit lens. Now, many of you guys are probably sitting there wondering, why am I comparing two different focal length? And my answer to that is, I'm kind of selfish actually. I actually want to compare the 18-200 because that was my daily driver. And let me say, it was interesting. I actually wish I never did what I did. But since I did, I need to tell you guys up front. The 18-200 has focusing breathing issues. Yes, as you can see, when shooting at the same exact position, as you can see in this ruler example, the 18-200 VR1 lens is 60 millimeters off versus the Z-mount lens. That is pretty bad. That means whatever I'm testing in this test, basically the Z-mount does it better, pretty much. So we're gonna see some different focal length, but I'm gonna make sure that it's actually kind of on the same focal length per se, because they're not the same focal length exactly, but they're close enough. So just keep that in mind. And also, as for the pricing, this is crazy, guys. The Z-mount costs $350. This 18-200 VR1 costs $420. That is, yeah, that is really interesting. And also, they both have 16 elements and 7 blades. And yeah, that's just, yeah, this whole testing has become kind of interesting already, because we have a focus and breathing lens that costs more than a Z-mount lens. But yes, but let's take a look at some image quality. Maybe the price difference is going to show in image quality. So without further ado, let's begin. All right, as you can see, we are shooting at 4,000 shutter speed, and already right off the bat, at 4,000 shutter speed, you can already tell that at 5.6, the Z-mount is a lot sharper than the F-mount. Around f8, as you can clearly tell, definitely the Z-mount is still way sharper than the F-mount. Around f11, the story remains the same. Definitely the Z-mount is much sharper than the F-mount. And here is f16. Now around f16, they look quite identical, but no, I will give it to the Z-mount. Z-mount is a hair sharper. And so yeah, definitely seems like the Z-mount is a lot better than the F-mount so far. All right, so here's our next example. And we are shooting at this little barn right here. And already right off the bat, I could tell you right now that the Z-mount is way more sharper on the background than the F-mount. Let's take a look at this house right here. And I would have to say the Z-mount is actually a hair sharper than the F-mount. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, you can definitely see that sharpness right there in the shadows right there. Wow, the Z-mount actually renders a lot of the image much more clearer than the F-mount. Look at the edge right there. Look at that. That is crazy. And I'm aiming at this window, by the way. Here's f8. And the story remains the same, more or less. Yeah, the story is the same. Definitely the Z-mount is going to give you more rendering of the background than the F-mount. F-mount is blurred out. Some people might enjoy that, but I'll have to say that the Z-mount is actually way sharper than the F-mount. Yeah, you can see that bush right there. And definitely the edges as well. Here is f11. Around f11, I would say, story remains the same, guys. Yeah, story remains the same. Definitely the Z-mount is a lot sharper on the foreground and the background on the images. Here is f16. As you can see, wow, around f16, it sort of looks like it's almost equal, but I will have to give it to the Z-mount just by a hair. You can see that sharp shadow right there, whereas the F-mount, you don't see that sharp shadow at all. But overall, they look quite identical. And I will have to say that if you look at the colors on the Z-mount looks a lot more saturated than the F-mount. I just want to point that out. It looks a lot saturated. So yeah, look at that. Look at that tree. So yeah, definitely the Z mount seems to be pushing better colors than the F mount lens. So that's something to take a note of. All right, here's the next test. As you can see, we are shooting at 200mm versus 175 on the Z mount. And let's zoom in, let's see what we get. Now, even though the F mount is actually a lot closer slightly by the focal length, as it says on top, the Z mount actually renders this image way better, a lot sharper. I also want to let people know that this particular power line is about maybe 50 feet away. So this object right here is really far away. And as you can see, you're getting more sharpness with the Z mount than the F mount. That just blows me away. That is crazy. That is really crazy, actually. Look at all that detail. Oh my gosh. All right, so here is F8. And already, as you can see, F8, things kind of remains the same, actually. Around F8, it looks like the Z mount is still a hair sharper than the F mount. So yeah, there's more clarity on the Z mount. And that's pretty interesting. And here is F11, and I'll have to say that they are looking almost similar. And I will have to point out that it looks like it's slightly darker on the Z mount. I don't know if that's the clouds that's in the way, but it could be the clouds. But so far, the clarity, the sharpness still is on the Z mount. And here's the F16. Yeah, I will have to give it to the Z mount. All right, so here's the next test. On the left is the Z mount and on the right is the F mount. And we're taking a picture of this doll right here. And already, as you can see, around 200mm on the F mount versus 145 on the Z mount. Yeah, the Z mount dominates again. Yeah, it's a lot sharper on the Z mount than the F mount. The F mount seems to be really dull. And yeah, I'm kind of disappointed to find this out on my end. I owned this F mount for such a long time, thinking it was the best lens zoom of its time, and I guess it was until the Z mount came out. So yeah, there you go. Around F8, I think around F8, it looks very, I don't want to say identical, but yeah, it looks quite identical around F8. But I will have to give it to, yeah, it looks quite identical around F8 for this situation right here. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Here is F11. And I'll have to say that the Z mount on F11 looks a lot sharper than the F mount. Yeah, you can tell by the edges right there. Isn't that crazy? And again, it looks like the Z mount is a hair darker than the F mount actually. So yeah, I think if you're shooting with the Z mount, your image is going to be a little bit darker than the F mount. And keep in mind, these are two different focal lengths. It's 18 to 200 and 50 to 250. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, as you can see, the brightness is slightly different. So just keep that in mind. And here's F16. And there you have it. Yeah, I will have to give it to the Z mount. Z mount seems to dominate in this portion of the test. And yeah, I would have to say that the Z mount is a hair darker than the F mount. So you could definitely see more details right there versus the F mount, which is kind of overexposed. So that's something you guys should know. And I think that's actually a benefit. Now, just to wrap it up, as you can see, the Z mount lens does it again. It's a lot sharper than the F mount. It does not have focusing, breathing issues. Yeah, that is something that's really disappointing to me personally, because I used to use the 18 to 200 all the time, thinking that I was actually shooting 18 to 200. I wasn't for this whole time. Yeah, I feel kind of cheated. But with that said, for those folks out there that are planning to get the Z cameras and the lenses, of course, yeah, they're a lot sharper, a lot better. They're more, I guess, up to par, up to standard. They're just way better lenses. The autofocus is a lot better. The sharpness is a lot better. It's a well-built lens. And for some reason, I'm still feeling kind of down from the 18 to 200 because that lens was something that I always talked about to people. And, you know, yeah, I just feel like a total loser now. I've been shooting with a focusing breathing lens that just Wow, that's just pretty bad, actually. And that's pretty bad. But anyways, thank you guys for checking me back. And yeah, definitely click like and subscribe. And don't forget to check the merch store. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, it sucks when the focusing breathing is on me now, because I've been using that lens for this whole time. And I'm like, wow. Thank you, Z-mount. Thank you. Thank you, Nikon, for selling me that lens. And thank you for fixing it. That's all I can expect. That's all I can expect, I guess. But anyways, take care, guys. Peace.